Virtual Ball Boys podcast. My name is Chris, and I am joined once again by my good friend, Matt.
Chris, I'm going to say something to you that I've never said to you before.
Okay.
I want to talk about CBS sitcoms.
Oh, no. No. No, I did not. This is not. Now we're recording, and I can't get out of this. I can't just give an excuse like, "Oh man, no, I have to go eat dinner or something." Like, no, I have to sit here and listen to this conversation. Oh no.
All right, so I decided I was going to watch the season premiere of every CBS sitcom currently airing.
Are you serious? Is that
Yes.
actually what's...
Yep.
Oh, this is fantastic, actually. All right. Cool.
So I'm going to start with Be Positive because I couldn't watch Be Positive because it airs tomorrow.
Okay.
And I thought they had all started, but this one didn't. But I had already committed to the bit, so I will not be including Be Positive here.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right.
Fair. That's
So
fair.
I'm gonna go in order of the order that I watched them in.
Okay.
So I started with The Neighborhood. It was fine.
Okay.
It was like middle of the road, mediocre. A lot of like, oh, white people do this, but black people do this type of comedy.
Right. Right. I see.
Next one was Bob Hart's Abishola, which this specific episode they went to Nigeria because Abishola's son was being kept there by his father, and Abishola wanted to bring him to the States for their wedding and like potentially keep him there too. It was fine. Again,
all right, so just middle of the road, just fine.
very
nothing
middle of the road.
Necessarily.
Yeah, super inoffensive. Had a couple jokes that made me laugh, like Abishola's, I think, uncle, was like pretending to be like this, talking to a like a Nigerian market person, was pretending to be like the most fucking middle American person, and then like suddenly switched and like spoke in his real voice.
I see.
And freaked out the market guy. That part made me laugh. That was good.
Yeah.
But still, just fine.
Yeah, just fine. Okay.
Then I watched Young Sheldon, and it was the most middle of the road shit. It was like, oh, the dad almost cheated, and then had a heart attack, and then the girl he almost cheated with brought him to the hospital, and it was like really awkward the entire episode. And like the kids were having feelings of like, oh, did we do something wrong, or why aren't I getting punished for something? Because I don't fucking care about Sheldon. Jim Parsons' narration sucks. I don't even know if a lesson was learned by the end of it. It was the worst one, but it was still just like, it was just a normal episode of TV, and I didn't enjoy it.
Okay. All right. So, but again, nothing that's like the worst thing you've ever seen.
Nothing that's the worst thing I've ever seen.
Okay.
I then watched The United States of Al. And this one is a really hard one to rank, and I didn't think I was going to necessarily enjoy it, but the episode I watched dealt with the Taliban taking over, because the premise is a Marine who brings his translator from Afghanistan home, and his translator lives with him now.
Oh, this show. I've seen this promo for this show, and a lot of people not happy with
No, it's not. It's not the best. The episode was structured well, and I think that they did a very serious episode. This is probably the most serious of an episode that I've ever seen.
Sure.
And I think they did a good job.
Okay,
that's
good. That's good to hear.
Yeah, it's hard to like get a total grasp of the show just because that was the one episode of a comedy I watched was the most serious thing.
Yeah.
But they actually did a decent job at telling the story that they wanted to tell. It was basically about they were trying to get Al's sister out of Afghanistan, since she was in the most danger, since she helped the United States.
No. Was that in reference to what happened last month?
Yes.
2 months ago?
Yeah. It was.
That's interesting. Did they film that? Like,
I legitimately do not know.
That's wild that they filmed.
Is.
If they turned that around that quickly, or is it just the craziest coincidence in the face of the planet?
No, I think it's definitely mirroring real life events. My guess could be they filmed this special episode like they produced it after the rest of the season.
Interesting.
And then aired it first. That would be my guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is interesting. And then I watched the new kid on the block, Ghosts.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen some while watching Survivor or Big Brother. I've seen some promos for that.
Yeah. And then I watched a second episode of Ghosts.
Oh.
Ghosts is good.
Oh, yay! CBS did something right.
They did something right. I will. I'm going to continue watching this show.
Interesting. All right. What's the concept?
So the concept is there's a house that a couple moves into, but the house is like haunted by ghosts. All throughout history, there's like a Viking, there's a revolutionary guy, there's a hippie, there's like the former owner of the house, there's a Boy Scout master with an arrow through his neck, a lot of very different characters, a jazz singer, some like white collar chud that doesn't wear pants because I think he died without his pants on.
Okay, cool.
So those are all the ghosts, and the couple moves in, and they're gonna like turn it into a bed and breakfast, and all the ghosts are like freaking out because they're like, oh no, we don't want people fucking walking into us all the time. And what accidentally happens is the wife of the couple falls down the stairs, like has a horrible fall down the stairs, and is in the hospital and in a coma for 2 weeks. And because she was legally dead for I think they said 3 hours, but she was legally dead for a time, she can see the ghosts.
Interesting.
So she can see the ghosts, the husband can't, and now they're just gonna try to figure out how to like live together. So it's the situational comedy. The situations come from she can see ghosts, and these ghosts are wacky characters, and it is surprisingly well written for a CBS show, and I'm excited to watch more of it.
Yeah, I mean, you and I have been on the record over the years of saying that really the only thing good about CBS is their reality shows, and even that's debatable because really the only good one is Survivor, if you want to really break it down. I still would hold a candle for Big Brother, but that's just a personal preference.
Oh, me too. It's bad, but I like it.
Yeah. So for me, it's like hearing you say that like everything was just like mediocre and just kind of like fine. I was like, that doesn't surprise me, but hearing that there at least one show from them is actually doing good is nice to hear. Do we have any idea of like who the creator of the show is?
I can look that up.
I'd be curious just if they have. If done it's not anything...
Chuck Lorre.
Oh, I mean, he's done like the Big Bang Theory and shit. So
he does like everything else, but I hope it's not Chuck Lorre because it's actually good. Okay, Matthew Bainton, Simon Farnaby, Martha Howe Douglas, Jim Howick, Richard Lawrence Rickard, and Belle Wilbond. So group of people.
I have no idea who any of them are, but I was just curious because I would be like, oh, maybe they got like a decent like crew together to like actually produce a good show on CBS for once, from a comedy point of view.
Oh shit! One of the creators started Paddington 2. That's how you know it's good.
God damn it. Well, thank you for this. I would love. So you're done, or is there more that you have to focus on? Are you just gonna skip out on the B plus thing?
I'll pass on B positive.
Be positive, yeah.
It's a guy who like becomes a blood donor. That's all.
That's it. It's probably just bland.
I'm gonna guess it's slightly above the neighborhood Bob Hart's, Abby Scholl, and Yun Sheldon, but not at the level of Ghosts. Yeah. Interesting.
All right. Interesting prediction. There you go. Well, thank you all so much for tuning into our CBS podcast. Now, welcome to the BBFL podcast, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of stuff to get to today. We won't have a proper mid segment because of it. We will do our recap. We will do our predictions. We have lots to talk about what happened with football on the field this past week. But man, it's been a 48-hour.
Yeah.
To say the least. So let's go back. We're gonna go back real quick. We're gonna go to, I want to say it was Thursday
or Friday.
Week? Yeah, so Thursday or Friday last week. A report comes out regarding John Gruden, and John Gruden, the Raiders head coach, had there's an email that popped up that was sent during the NFL lockout back in 2011, and it was talking about the NFLPA president, DeMarcus Smith, I believe his name is. Apologies, DeMaurice Smith.
DeMaurice, yeah.
DeMar Smith, and he is so he's like the central figure for representing the NFL Players Association, and John Gruden, who was a broadcaster at a time, was communicating with Bruce Allen, who was at the time the Washington football team's president. And so in the email, John Gruden basically described DeMar Smith as having lips the size of Michelin tires, which is extremely racist.
Very racist.
Which is extremely racist. And so that came out, and John Gruden's asked those questions, and he's like, I was a mistake. I'm sorry. That led to me tweeting that, like, it reminds me of how, like, racist when they get caught, it's like their hands slip while playing Jenga, like, as if it's, like, something that they could not control, like, even though you absolutely could control you 40-something-year-old, brain, whatever age he was by the time he sent that email. Fucking ridiculous. And that alone should have just been like, okay, enough of this guy, right?
Yeah.
But
the only with that, the only reason I would have said, like, obviously enough of this guy, I understand the legal aspect of it, like, he wasn't an employee of the NFL at the time.
Right.
Still a dick move, but I understand if disciplinary action could not have been taken. And then...
Yeah. and then... and this is, by the way, in the wake of, like, we had this whole week of Urban Meyer, all the shit that he's been involved in. And I actually wanted to come back to this show before all this fucking John Gruden shit happening, because there was a great piece by Natalie Weiner that I highly recommend everyone check out over at Fanbyte. Who she did an excellent column about how coaches, and it is relevant to the Gruden situation, but it was written before the Gruden, the big chunk of the Gruden stuff happened. But essentially, it was this piece just saying how, like, coaches just get away with really doing just the worst stuff and then blaming, like, the victims and letting the victims take the fall for their actions. And very specifically, it was in the Urban Meyer's case, talking about the women that he's basically had, take the collateral damage for his actions. Like, now the woman that he was giving him a lap dance was now is being, her workplace is evaluating her to potentially, like, get rid of her if an investigation finds that she did something wrong that makes the company look bad. So that would be, so it was a great piece, so I highly recommend people check it out. I'll maybe try to remember to put it in the podcast description, because it has some relation to what happened with John Gruden. Because on Monday night, we're getting ready to watch Ravens Colts, and then all of a sudden, the New York Times comes out with a massive report. And I apologize for not remembering who sent out the initial report with John Gruden on Thursday. I just did not go back. But the New York Times came out with a much bigger report on John Gruden, and specifically that there is more than one email. And we don't have to go into the details of it. It's all just gross, but it's essentially bad. Yeah, it's, he hit the hate trifecta, where he was being racist, being homophobic, being misogynistic, and just saying these horrible things, and doing so in a way that felt like the environment that he was doing it in was very welcoming to have that kind of hate being spewed over the emails. And so he got caught, and literally probably within 20 minutes of that report being out, because that report came out, and I was in class, by the way. I probably should not have been looking at Twitter, but I was like, oh shit, okay, so this report just dropped. I sent it to Matt, and I was just like, okay, hey, it looks like, at this point, I think you and I both kind of were like, he's probably gonna get let go. I think at least that's where I was at.
Yeah.
I said that I think that he's gonna end up being a fall guy for potentially, like, the fact that
the Washington Football Organization.
Right. Oh yeah. So that, we'll get to that. Yeah. Like that whole thing. Like, he's gonna be a fall guy for that organization right now. And sure enough, like 5 minutes later, he's resigned. So John Gruden is no longer the head coach of the Raiders, which is fucking wild. Because you go back a few years ago, and it was 10 years.
The 10-year contract, dude.
Like, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. I mean, I guess we could start here and then go into the specifics. What has been this whirlwind been like for you, Matt, following this?
I mean, it was just the other night. I was like, so I remember Sunday night. I was in bed and I was waiting for the Chiefs-Bills game to come back, and it was in the lightning delay. So I was like, I was listening to fucking Tirico and Dungy talking for a bit, and it was like, it was dark in my room. I was about to go to sleep. Once it hit 10 o'clock Central, I was like, fuck this. But they talked a lot about Gruden, and they were like, oh, I don't think he has a racist bone or some dumb shit like that. Just all the staples of, like, you're trying to defend your friend type of thing.
Yeah, that was a big thing that happened after with, like, and by the way, like, it made me. I was like, why is Tirico saying this? Because I really like Tirico, and the fact that he's defending it, like, I was just like, oh, come on, man.
Yeah,
but Dungy has a history. He's a fucking homophobic asshole.
Yes,
so, like...
no, fuck that. But it just, like, the whole thing was like, okay, it was the argument of, well, he's never done it in front of me.
Yeah, come on,
that is the weakest argument. And truly could have been they didn't know.
Yeah,
but, well, Dungy probably knew. But, could have been.
Maybe, yeah.
Could have been. They just didn't know. Legitimately, that could have been the case. And then Monday happens. I wasn't listening to a ton of the commentary Monday night because most of the game was boring. And then when the game got interesting Monday night, they weren't talking about Gruden at all. So.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I mean, when you're talking about that. We were talking about the way that Tirico and Dungy were defending Jugger initially. Obviously, they did not know. We as a general public did not know the bigger story that was happening with it. But it does so remind me of just like it is. Well, there's stories that have been happening for years apparently that has been within inner circles a lot of the time, but has come out every once so often, and now it's like pouring out like a waterfall, that John Gruden has been so apparently notoriously two-faced of
that
being
makes sense.
Like that he will say something to you to your face, like he'll shit on a guy, and then the minute that they walk into the room say like they're, oh my god, you're like the best person I know. Like he has a history of that. And that kind of gives you an insight of who he is as a human being, which is not a good one.
No.
And I think that you're right. Like it's like this idea that, oh, it doesn't happen in front of me. Well, maybe that could be considered a good thing for you, because that means that you're not welcoming his hatred for other human beings, but certainly that doesn't mean that he doesn't go to other places where he feels more welcome to be a racist or more welcome to be a homophobic asshole, like, or being misogynist, you know what I mean? And I think that kind of brings me back to where I'm kind of at, where I feel like this, I not, and this is not saying that like John Gruden does not deserve it. He deserves everything that is coming his way right now. He deserves
100%.
The Buccaneers Ring of Honor, everything being taken down from that. He deserves to not have a job again. All these people that are already talking about him going to college, fuck that. Like that, he should not have a job. He should not have a job.
Just let him walk away. Don't involve him. But
I think that there is a bigger story here, in that there is. He was felt comfortable to do that because of the people he was talking to. I want to see what Bruce Allen was saying. Like, I want to know what other people on the Washington football team were saying that were involved in those emails. Like, I want to see the NFL release those emails, because apparently the investigation that the Washington football team is currently under, like, and by the way, this has been an investigation that's only been happening for like the last few years, because we've been, the NFL has been investigating Daniel Snyder and how he has culminated like a terrible environment over the Washington football team. Like, all those emails are now going to be concealed because the NFL wants to protect the owner. Like Daniel Snyder is, they charged him or fined him $10 million, which is pocket change. In all seriousness, when it comes to with a billionaire like Daniel Snyder, they're basically they don't want to get rid of him, and so they're gonna hide these emails, I think, and they're not gonna want to show the rest of the world what all these exchanges have been like. Because I bet you that it's not just John Gruden,
absolutely not,
who was saying these things and doing these things.
And honestly, to be completely honest, like Washington is definitely where the corruption has happened the most, and I think very, very clearly, this culture was the word toxic gets thrown around a lot lately. This is the most toxic,
absolutely,
the culture has ever been anywhere.
Yeah,
and I'm sure that other other NFL franchises have their own skeletons, their own things that they want to hide. And their own, and that makes it sound a little too innocent, I think, for me describing it like that. They have their own things that they don't want the public to find out.
Yes, exactly. I don't want to sit here and be like, everyone's a racist. I don't want to necessarily say that, but there is. Knowing the nature of this league and knowing that it is, especially when the higher up you go, a deeply conservative league that tends to harbor a lot of these feelings for people of color, for women, for gay people, or just people in the LGBT plus community in general. This league has notoriously not been welcoming to wide swaths of human beings out there. And I do think that there's probably a lot more that we do not know, and we may never know. This may be one of the only instances that we really get to see a behind the scenes look at how these people truly feel. But the NFL is that they're trying to put on this facade and this face of all right, we want to be the agent of change in this world. We want to give players a platform to do good, and we want to be able to say that football is for everyone. But then they have shit like this happening, and also I tweeted this out. A lot's being made about what Gruden said in the emails, which they should. But there's also the fact that they were exchanging illicit photos of topless cheerleaders,
which is wild.
Yeah,
it should be talked about more. How fucking shitty that is.
Yeah, that's insane. That's the fact that that's not the headline of this whole thing is kind of wild to me. But whatever. I mean, I am so hoping that more people get brought down for this. I hope that I'm really John Gruden deserves to be brought down, but I think so many other people should as well. I hope that because of I think so many more eyes are now going to be on the story because of what happened now, because now John Gruden's no longer the coach with the Raiders. I think that's going to bring a lot of attention to this whole scandal, and you're seeing a lot more people be like, where the fuck, what? It's like fucking Hillary's emails again, but it's show us the emails.
Yeah, people are asking questions, and people are asking good questions. It's not that the budget skepticism where people pretend that they're being deep and asking questions. It's legitimate interest.
Yeah.
And skepticism towards this organization, which is a really good thing to have.
Yeah, I think generally, I think the NFL needs to be held to the fire here. I think the Washington football team should be held to the fire here. What the Raiders knew in all this. I mean, Mark Davis is making it seem. Mark Davis seems pissed off by the whole thing.
Good,
because he's like I think he's like I think that. The way that they're at least telling it, or how reporters are talking about it, it's that he didn't know that this was happening with John Gruden, and that the Raiders also have a very deep history of being a lot more diverse. Mm-hmm. Having the first, I think having the first ever person of color be head coach, and then having the first black head coach, and then having the first female executive, and Amy Trask, and and then obviously Carl Nassib earlier this year coming out
and
the first openly gay player. Like this organization is known for its diverse background that I feel like there is that even though like we completely trust that Mark Davis like is doing all like is angry because of what John Gruden did. We don't know. It could just be that he's angry that he had to fire his head coach. But I think that it is something that I think the Raiders do kind of care about, having that kind of image of like we are this open-minded organization that we want to welcome everyone, and this kind of puts a real thorn in that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sucks. I hope that like as a fan of the NFL, and you and I both I think share the sentiment. We want it to be better.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I think that I think that advocating for change and getting the bad people out is the best way forward.
Yeah.
And the only way forward if we want this organization to like have any sense of morality.
Yeah, and like there's just so much shit, it goes back to like how the yearly news story that has become, hearing how the concussion lawsuit and how that whole the way that they determine payout is that they're basically judging that black people are dumber than white people, so that they should pay the black people less, like shit like that. Like there's so much shit that you could go into with the NFL and how poorly it has treated people over the years, marginalized people specifically. It's just awful. One last note, and it's just kind of I was just reminded that since we did our last June when we talked about the BLM movement and all that, I've had a link in the description where we had the it was like the card.co link that had a link to a bunch of like donation links and petitions and things like that. There's some things that are still important to check out on that link. There's that some of it might be outdated, so I might end up swapping that out soon. With something else. I'm trying to think of what I want to promote down there in terms of, because I think it's just important to kind of keep in mind that like we need to keep on fighting back beyond just the NFL. Obviously, it's just we keep on. It is so important to remember that how shitty the world is for people, marginalized people, especially black people, and I'm hoping that we can continue to be a good voice in the fight of just like we should not tolerate this, and we should support people as much as possible. And for anyone who has followed this podcast and knows how we kind of stand on these things, like that's kind of where we're at, where we want to be, we actually want to be agent of change, not like the NFL that kind of does it like it's a marketing campaign.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's but John Gruden's out as the Raiders head coach, and again, one last thing before we go to the recap, just what do you think this impact is going to have on the Raiders this season for the rest of the year?
I think it's going to be a negative one. I think that just you could definitely see it in how they played Chicago on Sunday, that they weren't all there.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was not a good like feeling overall, I think, for them, and it's unfortunate because they had a really great start to the season. But now I just think that this story is going to kind of hang over them, and the disappointment is going to be there in the players, and I think that they'll bounce back eventually. But it's not going to be a good time for them in the present.
Yeah,
Because it's not like you have the theory of we get rid of the bad head coach and now everyone's better. I don't think that's gonna exactly happen in this case, because he wasn't fired because he was a bad head coach.
Right.
So
I think it definitely is one of those things that it's such a different circumstance compared to other things, compared to what has happened before. I do think though that there seemed to be if that kind of cloud hanging over them, like it seemed like it was when they played on Sunday, like you said. Like I think him being removed from that organization is a sour feeling overall, but I feel like it would have been better than him maybe being there still. And
believe me, him there is worse than him gone.
Yeah,
for the team.
What I mean by that too, though, is that like I don't mean to say like you're saying like, oh well, if he was there, like I'm not trying to say that. Like I think it's more so that I think from a player point of view, and maybe I'm just misreading it, but I think that from the player's point of view, based off of how I think some of the players probably feel in that locker room right now, that like they're probably upset that the circumstances happened the way they did, but probably are like us where it's like, okay, fine, he deserved to go. Let's just move on. Let's try to just beat the Broncos on Sunday, and let's just go from there. I mean, cool. and Mayock came out too. Mike Mayock, the general manager, came out and he really did not acknowledge John Gruden at all in the presser, which good. He was just like talking about the just moving forward and saying what the Raiders mean to like how important diversity means to the Raiders, and then went into kind of like saying we're moving on, we're playing the Broncos. We hope you Rich what's his name now? Rich Bisaccia, I think his name is.
That sounds right.
Like he's now the head coach who I've never heard of, but he's apparently been a right-hand man to John Gruden for many years. He was with him back when he was the Tampa Bay head coach back in the day. So that's that is the intriguing thing, is like how close is he to John Gruden, in that will the players feel like they can trust him over John Gruden. So yeah, a lot of crazy fucking shit, but I digress. It has been 2 years since we started Team Chaos Productions, and we would not be where we are today without the help of Anchor. You've heard us talk about it all the time, but let me remind you, this completely free platform gives creators the tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast from your computer or phone. Once done, Anchor will distribute your podcast to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more, so you don't have to. You can also make some money on the episodes with no minimum listenership. It's everything you'd ever want in a podcasting platform, so download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Happy podcasting.
What makes Table Party different from other tabletop podcasts?
The music.
The setting.
The characters.
The gore.
A bunch of different games.
The refreshing coldness of ice cream.
The 300-foot-tall squid named Delilah.
The dice rolls.
The horrifying body horror.
The aroma.
The suffering of my players.
Dairy Queen blizzards.
The luxurious plush texture.
The free coupons.
Bad decisions.
And who can we expect?
I'm Kelsey.
I'm Matt.
I'm Gabe.
I'm Walsh.
I'm Chris.
Welcome to the Table Party.
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 Speaking of crazy shit, but more in the less harmful way, Week 5 football was wild.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
a lot of wild stuff. So picking game of the week was very difficult from my point of view. I ended up landing on Browns and Chargers.
I would not have accepted any other one.
Yeah, I mean, but there were some good candidates.
There were some excellent candidates, but Browns Chargers was on another level of good.
Yeah. So I mean, the basic gist that I could give is that the Browns had a very solid start overall. They ended up getting out to a 2-score lead early on, and then it just was a fury of offensive touchdown after offensive touchdown, back and forth and back and forth. They scored, if I'm correct, 41 points in the fourth quarter.
Combined, yes, something nuts like that.
Yeah, it was insane.
Even ending with probably my favorite football play of all time, where the Browns defense dragged Austin Eckler into the end zone.
Yes.
to give the Browns a chance. Because Eckler was supposed to go down there, run out the clock, but the Browns defense did the smart thing and pulled him into the end zone to give them a chance. It was amazing.
Yeah, no, it was there were so many like smart coaching decisions I think overall in this
Brandon
game,
Staley,
but it was just
fucking applause, standing ovation for Brandon Staley.
But yeah, it was just a hard thing to do because ultimately, it became one of those things where it was very difficult to it became the when it came down to the wire at the end there, where it just was impossible for the Browns to end up making it after they even though they were able to pull Austin Eckler in, the way that they moved the ball down the field after that, I don't even think did they even kick the field goal, or they did. Well, they couldn't kick a field goal because it was down 5 points.
Yeah.
So they just could not move the ball down at the end. But man, what a game! Like it was it was 27-13 at the start of the third quarter. And then it was the Chargers scoring twice, gained the lead 28-27, and it was just back and forth. It was just it was one of the craziest fourth quarters that you would ever see in a football game.
And you know what the fucking craziest part is?
What's that?
Like, you'd think with a high-scoring game this high with like a couple missed field goals, this would be a scoregami, right?
No.
It wasn't, because this is the exact same final score as that Browns-Ravens game last year. That went fucking nuts.
Oh, shit.
So the Browns have played in both games that have had this score and have lost in crushing defeat both times.
Wow. That is wild. That is insane. I mean, and you could sit here and be like, "Oh man, where was the defense?"
Shut up.
And it's like, okay, fine, whatever. It was
All right,
a great game.
You want defense? Watch the first 3 quarters.
Yeah,
there it is.
Exactly. Yeah, and like the Browns defense played really well for 2.5 quarters, and then all hell broke loose. And so that's, it happens. But no, Chargers are just looking like one of the best teams in the AFC right now.
Yeah.
And I people were like, "Oh, is this an AFC Championship preview?" I'm like, "All right, hold your horses. There's the Bills there." But I think it would be fun to see these two teams meet in like a wild card or division round. Like that'd be cool to see.
Yeah.
If we get to that point.
Absolutely.
So,
the Bills exist, just so you know.
That's why I'm saying. Yeah, yeah. The Bills are a thing.
Bills Chargers, give it to me, feed it to my mouth hole.
The mouth that is my hole. All right.
Wait.
So moving on.
Keep going.
We have blowout of the week. We have a tie for blowout of the week.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, we had a similar margin of defeat here. And both we could just lightly touch on. Dolphins at Buccaneers, one of them.
We expected it. Brady somehow hasn't set all of the records that he's currently setting. So here's another one.
Yeah. There you go. So that's that was a 28-point victory for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and then similarly for the Tennessee. Oh wait a second. I feel like I must have done some math wrong. What's 19 plus 18? It's 37, right?
That would be 37, yes.
Okay, I'm mistaken. So it's only the Dolphins and Buccaneers.
Okay.
Because I think I made 18 turn into 28 in my head when I looked at Titans and Jaguars.
Gotcha.
And that was only an 18-point deficit. So don't worry, Jaguars. You're not the worst team in the league in week 6, at least. Or week 5, rather.
Yeah.
But maybe next week. We'll see.
We'll see.
But the Buccaneers, they're back. They bounced. It's not like they lost the Patriots game, but it was a weird game. For many reasons, more than one, but like it was a weird game for them. They didn't look great.
Houston should have won that game.
You mean against I'm talking about the Buccaneers Patriots game.
Oh, sorry, my mistake. Yeah.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
The Buccaneers, that was not a great game for them, but then they come back and they play the Dolphins and they just demolish them, and it's like, okay, the Buccaneers, they're okay. It just was a weird game on that Sunday. They're back on track, beating the Dolphins to a pulp.
Hell yeah.
And then the chaos things.
I'm curious what you chose for chaos because there didn't feel like a clear.
There
choice
was
for
a
me.
lot. There was a lot of chaos happening. There was a lot of 1-3 upsets over 3-1, or at least 2 that I saw. I opted to go with the Steelers winning
Okay.
the way they did.
Yeah.
Because I think that for me, I really felt like the Steelers were reaching dead in the water status.
Oh, me too. That's why I locked against them.
Yeah, I almost did too. I almost guaranteed the Broncos. But my reasoning for not doing it was like, oh well, man, the Broncos are they're too good to kind of like to fall to the Steelers. So I don't want to guarantee it. It's too easy. No, clearly not. The Broncos just did not do well on the road. Steelers got their win, and their defense looked great, and Big Ben played better. Yeah, they're not going to be without Juju Smith-Schuster for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
But this is a kickstart for them, maybe to kind of get back on the right track. They have the Seahawks this week. But the other one I know that you might want to touch on was the Eagles-Panthers game. Eagles.
I'm so upset. 'Cause this was my backup block too, so I was like, "Oh, Panthers are going to be great. Christian McCaffrey needs to fucking come back."
Yeah,
he has been so important for this offense, and it's very clear that they need him. I really hope he plays, but I hope that he plays and is healthy enough to play.
Yeah,
because I don't want them to rush it.
I mean, granted, Hubbard did 101 yards on the ground.
True.
I mean, so it's not in terms of the running game. I don't think it's that bad, but in the passing game, I think he's missed. Yeah, I think with Darnold, Darnold 3 interceptions.
It's a safety valve.
Yeah, Eagles had a pretty good defensive performance on Sunday, and even though Jalen Hurts didn't play at his best, it just ended up kind of working out where the defense kind of stopped the Panthers enough, turned over the ball enough.
Turnovers were the big thing. Yeah,
that ultimately got the Panthers the loss rather.
Yep. God. Shit.
But that's the Panthers, Raiders, and we'll talk about the Bears game if you want. But the Raiders, Panthers, Broncos, all those 3-0 teams, two losses in a row right there. Only 3-0 teams that have only one loss or less is the Cardinals and Rams.
Right.
So it just seems like this is a topsy-turvy league and anything could happen.
Which I love it. This is I think this is my favorite season of football since we started this podcast.
You just say favoritist?
Favorite season? Did I say favoritist?
I think you did, but it's cute. I like it.
That's weird. I'm not all here today, apparently.
No, it's okay. No, it may have just been like the way you transitioned words that I made it sound like that. Maybe. It's okay. But I'm of the mindset that I'm with you that this is a wild year. I feel like I could see it where 8 weeks from now we have completely new favorites for who's gonna win the conference.
Yeah, I can also see that.
Like crazy shit could happen that who knows that could cause the whole tape. Like the Jaguars could be an AFC favorite. Week 13.
I don't think so.
I doubt that.
But
but yeah, no, I'm everything that has happened this year, it's definitely got me like, all right, I'm curious what's gonna happen next in future weeks. But I mean we have to touch on other games. The Packers Bengals game was a treat.
The kickers.
Yeah, this was one of the worst kicker weeks since the 80s. It's been terrible.
But it was so funny.
Oh, 100%.
Especially the Bengals Steelers game, because that was the game that I got, and it was just so funny to watch them miss all the time.
Constantly.
The only one that I was upset missed was the final Bengals kick they missed. I was like, okay, he's gonna get it this time, and then it just happened again. What the fuck is happening in this game?
You know what? That I know exactly what field goal you're talking about, and that pissed me off because I was like, you had short yardage on 4th down. Why couldn't you just have gone for it? Like I don't understand why they could. Like
it's overtime.
At that point in the game. And at that, knowing what has happened in that game and knowing all the misses has happened, like all this the bad juju that's over that whole game, like maybe let's not kick it. Let's try to at least get the touchdown. Let's try to get as close as possible.
Counter argument. They had missed so much that it was statistically improbable they would miss again.
Because
It's so rare.
I get it, but like it's I guess for me I just felt like I needed to have like a little bit more comfort, because you and I both were rooting for the Bengals on that because we both had our chaos. Like we were like, oh come on, like just get a little bit closer because it wasn't like a terrible field goal distance, but it was not necessarily a chip in either. And so I was just kind of like, let's just get a little bit closer for the guy. Help him out a little bit. And then fucking like, was it that game that it hit the flag and he was celebrating
on the other side? He thought he got it. He didn't.
Ah, God, what a fucking dreadful
kickers. I'm glad that the Bears, like, the one thing the Bears are doing well right now is Cairo Santos.
I just like the I hope they never get rid of kickers, man.
They need to fucking keep kickers in this league.
They do too.
They need to.
It brings so much more fun and ridiculousness to everything, and everyone gets. I get it. You're heartbroken about your team losing, and like you probably want to like yeet the kickers out for if they miss it. But like it adds like just a kooky fun element to the whole
Unless
thing.
You're a Detroit Lions fan.
Which brings us to Detroit at Minnesota, where literally this game was won. They had it. They had it in their grasp. They ran it in. I think it was DeAndre Smith that scored the touchdown.
Probably.
So it was, but it was a great final score, and it was like, all right, they're gonna do it. They finally are gonna win a game, and then Minnesota just like boop boop boop, and then that was it.
This is the second week in a row that Detroit has lost to a last-minute field goal kick, 19-17, facing a purple team.
To 2 in 3 weeks, because the Bears last week.
Oh shit! What shit? Okay.
They faced the Bears last week, but your point still stands. Still an insane. Still an absolutely insane. Like,
my sense of time is warped.
No, trust me. For a while, I honestly though, I thought the same thing. I thought it was Ravens last week, so it's okay. Everything's fucked on that front. But I'm trying to. Yeah, DeAndre Swift ran it in for a 7-yard run, and then literally with like it was 1:19 left in the clock, and I don't think the Vikings had any timeouts, and they were just dink and dunk it, and then they kicked the fucking field goal, and it was just like, oh my god, Lions, and poor kneecap biting guy, I forget his name, Dan Campbell crying on the podium after the fact.
Oh no!
I was just like, oh man,
Dan.
I feel terrible for him.
I shit on the Lions so much, but I feel bad for him. I feel bad for that.
I do too, because I think because what he was saying was that like these guys put in so much of a fight, they try so hard, and to see it fall short, it's such a killer, and it makes me like it gives me hope for the legs, because I kind of like seeing that from coaches when they put their emotions on their sleeve and what it means to them, and I'm like, okay, I think this is a shitty time to be a Lions fan, and they probably won't win. They probably will have like 1 or 2 wins at the end of the year, but maybe there's hope for this guy leading the franchise, because I think maybe there is something there that could actually work out, and maybe the kneecap biting will commence at some point. But yeah, I think that's really covers the big game. Oh, I mean, Buffalo fucking demolishing the Chiefs. I mean, that was great.
Hell yeah, big fan of that.
The Ravens coming back on the Colts.
Oh, beautiful.
That was Lamar Jackson had probably his best passing performance ever.
He did. He had the Ravens' best passing performance ever.
Really, as a historic, wow. Yeah, I mean, he was fantastic, and like literally everything. All those critiques about the Ravens, about how they can't come back from behind, and Lamar Jackson can't throw it from the pocket. They did both in that game, a ton, and it just like they show them. I was very happy for them. Wild fucking week of games, but we have another wild week ahead, hopefully. Week 6 is upon us, and to tell you how we did last week in terms of our picks, I went 11-5, got my guarantee, did not get my team chaos, ended up with 6 points.
I went 12-4, lost my guarantee, did not get my chaos, so 7 points.
Yes, but overall, the standings look like this. Matt, you are in the lead at 52-28. Very good picking record.
Thank you.
-2 for the bonus, so that leaves you at 22 points. And I'm at 47-33, -2 bonus, so 12 points. So still anyone's game. Let's get into week 6 picks here. Let us start with who went last? Who went first last week?
I did. You go.
I'll go.
You do.
Buccaneers at Eagles. Yeah, it's like you start out with like an interesting Rams-Seahawks game, which we didn't even talk about that. Russell Wilson's out for the fucking year.
Oh yeah.
Not the year. Before.
Ugh.
That would suck, but 6 weeks. But
6 weeks.
He is out for a while. But yes, that was last weekend, and that was a wild game in its own right. No, was it a wild game? I don't know. I forget. It's all time warp. But the Buccaneers at Eagles doesn't look like as good of a game compared to that. But will the Eagles surprise us? Matt, what do you think?
I don't think they're going to be that surprising. One of Jalen Hurts' strengths is running, and you can't run against Tampa Bay. It's just impossible. It's impossible. Dallas Goedert's going to be out too, so they're going to be down an option. I don't see it for the Eagles this week, so I'm going to go with Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I was really tempted to pick the Eagles as a team chaos here, but I kind of thought about it more. I was kind of like, the Eagles are kind of down a few people. The Buccaneers kind of looked great against the Dolphins, and feel like the Eagles, even though they're kind of getting into that frisky range, I just don't think that they're going to be good enough to take down the Bucs in their current like run of things. So no. I'll go Buccaneers as well.
All right, the Battle of Florida. We have part 2. We have Miami against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Miami might be getting Tua back. Potentially getting Tua back.
True.
That's true. Jacksonville coming off of yet another loss. Do these teams have any strength in them?
Well, as you may know, Matt.
Yeah.
As from our history of following this league, we know that this game is being played in London, by the way.
It is.
So when that happens, it tends to be that the losing team is at risk of losing their head coach because they tend to be fired. And something tells me that if Urban Meyer does not win this game, or in fact if he gets embarrassed in this game, I think Urban Meyer is going to be as one and done as any one and done coach could ever be. And so, because of that, I think the Dolphins are going to win it. I think if Tua plays this week, I'm going to put like a soft, I'm not going to guarantee it, but it's kind of like, I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty certain that that's going to happen.
I'm going to be frisky. I'm going to team cast the Jaguars.
Oh, I like it.
Weird shit happens in London.
I like it a lot.
I think that James Robinson alone can win this game just because of how easy it is to run on Miami.
Yeah.
And they're not even going to need to pass that much. Tua back or not, I still don't think Tua would be like at 100% strength.
Sure.
So while the Dolphins are in a better position, I'm gonna use my chaos here.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Weird shit.
I think that you have like something like the Cowboys are like one of the best teams in the league in spite of or despite Mike McCarthy being their head coach. Like you could say that the Jaguars could win a game despite their head coach being Urban Meyer. So I can see it. I can see it. So but I'm gonna stick with the Dolphins, but I like it. I like that pick a lot. Next up, the Green Bay Packers at the Chicago Bears. Justin Herbert's first taste of the cheese.
Justin
Bears
Fields,
coming-
you mean?
What did I say?
Herbert.
I fucking see. I do that all the fucking time. I do that all the time. Justin Fields, first taste of the cheese, and ultimately, this is a game of two teams coming off of nice wins overall. Bears much more of a blowout situation than the Packers. Packers very slightly beat the Bengals, but regardless, are the Bears back, Matt?
Not in this matchup.
Okay.
I felt more optimistic than I think I was after a couple weeks ago about the Bears, because I think that laser play calling is much better.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the offense is starting to get a good hold. But I don't think this defense is... I still think the Packers offense is much better. And while the Packers defense has some holes, I think that it is still going to be the Packers game. I would love the Bears to win here, but the Bears also have both Robinson and Mooney are dealing with injuries this week as well. So not extremely confident on the Bears. I will be rooting for them, but for our picks purposes, I'm taking the Packers.
All right, I'll stay on this trade alone. I'm team chaosing the Bears.
What the fuck? Why?
Because you know what? Here's the thing. This is where I'm mentally at.
Okay.
It doesn't really have much to do with this game alone. It has to do with the fact that I hate a week where all I'm picking is road teams, and like that is straight up what has been happening for me. Like this whole you're gonna see that a majority of my picks are picks on the road, and I hate it. And I hate it with a passion. And I'm like, some shit's gonna fucking happen that I'm not gonna say. And so I'm like, what is the home team I have any hope in at all that could pull off an upset?
And it's
and
the
I'm
Bears?
I think that the Bears, you know what? They've won their last two games. I know it was against the Lions, and I know that the Raiders are under the whole John Gruden bullshit. I get it. But I think I am liking what I'm seeing from their defense a lot more, and I feel like if Bill Lazor's offensive play calling is going to be good, and plus it's in Soldier Field, there's just something about it that I just feel like some magic can happen. I think the Packers have a tendency to kind of they could stumble a few times and be like, all right, what's happening here? And have all of us ask questions and then go on about complaining about them not having the right weapons around Aaron Rodgers, yada, yada, yada. Like, that happens a few times per season. I think it's going to happen this week. I'm going Bears, Team Chaos.
Hey, Chris.
Yes.
I love you.
I'll carry the water for you. I'll take the bullets for you here.
All right. Okay, cool. I'm totally down if it happens. I just you're not the one who watches 3 hours of Bears every week.
I know. I listen. You know your team better, and you're 100% right that the Packers are probably gonna do it. I was either this or the Eagles, and again,
okay.
I was just like, I have more faith in the Bears over the Packers than an Eagles team over the Buccaneers at this point.
All right, cool.
So I just don't have much, and the Jaguars is a very good 2 chaos pick. The Urban Meyer thing, I don't want to touch that with a 6-foot pole or whatever. But yeah. Next up,
the Bengals take on the Detroit Lions. This is the second Cat Bowl this year. Bengals have been a part of both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice.
What do you think is going to happen?
I think that the Bengals should bounce back here.
Yeah.
We were just talking about it. I do feel for the Lions. I think that there's something there. They're competitive in a lot of these games to a certain extent. And I think that there will be a time where all of a sudden it finally breaks their way. But I just think that the Bengals deserve a lot of credit for what they've done on offense. I think that Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are just so fucking good, and I think that they'll do enough in this game where they should be able to put away the Lions here.
Yeah, I feel really confident about the Bengals in this matchup too.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stick with them.
Perfect. Next up, the Houst Texans at the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, what can be said, Colts fans? I mean, this was just a brutal loss for you. And then the Houston Texans, very close loss against the Patriots. So both teams are hurting. They want to win. Who's gonna get it, Matt?
I think the Colts will get their day here. They put up a good fight. The Ravens are obviously a better team than the Texans are. And I think that the Colts have enough going for them over the Texans. I accidentally just clicked on the Texans there. Thank God I clicked back. And I'll stick with the Colts here.
I'm with you. I think that the Colts just have more. I mean, not to say Texans they played a close game with the Patriots, but I feel like the Colts have just been given a raw deal with the schedule. They've had such a brutal schedule out of the gate, and I think that this is a team in the Texans that I feel like you could really do some damage against and kind of get morale back up. And I'm with you. I'm going Colts.
Imagine if Tyrod was still here.
If Tyrod was still here, it'd be interesting.
It would.
I'd be rooting for the Texans, which is not something I expected going into the season. But
nope.
Not he's now out indefinitely, I guess. I don't know. We haven't even heard from him.
Yeah, poor guy. The Los Angeles Rams take on the New York Giants in the Jersey. Rams coming off their Thursday night win against Seattle. The Giants, they did not win last week.
Yes.
Correct.
That's correct. That is
correct. Oh, they played the Cowboys, but
yep.
saw a emergence of Kadarius Toney. Will that type of play happen again this week?
No. But by the way, I just quickly going back to the Texans game because I just remembered this. Davis Mills had a fucking game.
Davis Mills is like the unfortunate situation of Taylor accidentally making rookies really good.
Yeah,
after week 2 or 3 is wild.
Yeah, like Davis Mills had a solid game last week. I just remember that. I apologize. We'll go back to this game. The Rams are going to do this. I mean, like I know everyone is just like the Giants will finally break through. I highly encourage anyone because I guess I do a lot of article reading. You guys should read Connor Orr's article on Monday Morning Quarterback on Sports Illustrated. If it's available, I don't even know if they locked that behind a paywall or not. But he just gave such a great critique of like they always want to force Cowboys Giants on us. Why are they doing this to us on a constant basis? It's never good. And like and I think that what I would add as even an extra thing, so I don't think he really touched on this, it's the fact that it's the Giants. It is the Giants more than anything, because the Cowboys, at least in some capacity, are relatively interesting. It's the Giants that just suck all the time.
People enjoy watching the Giants right now, or the Cowboys. Jesus, sorry.
Yeah,
I almost
exactly.
said I said an incorrect statement.
And so I think it's going to be a similar situation here. I think the Rams are a very, very good team, and I think that they're going to take care of the Giants. Maybe the Giants are frisky. I mean, certainly Saquon Barkley was looking better until he got injured. And now he's out, and I don't know what the status of Daniel Jones is right now. I don't know what's going on with this team, but I'm not. If we have Mike Lennon starting on Sunday, I'm not fucking, we're sticking with the Rams here for sure.
Yeah, I'm also sticking with the Rams.
Yeah.
Rams good.
The Kansas City Chiefs at the Washington football team. So guess what? This matchup, but if you're just looking at the nicknames, is 50% less racist now. Like that's the good thing. if you want to dig deeper into the organizations, maybe it's just 99.9% racist now. But anyways, right. So sorry. The Kansas City Chiefs. I watch football team. This is the Chiefs are. This is a very interesting spot for them. We haven't seen them in this position in a few years, where they're under 500 after week 5, and their defense is not doing well, and they're going up against a Washington football team, though, that is also kind of not finding its defense, even though we thought they would. And they're hoping for some Taylor Heineke magic to happen in this game. What do you think's going to happen?
I think that Kansas City needs to bounce back. I think their defense, both of these teams have a liability at defense.
Yeah.
Somehow Kansas City's is worse.
Mm-hmm.
Bottom tier. And when faced with opposition, their offense also has some issues. I don't think they're going to have as much issue in this game. But the fact that both of these teams are 2-3 is wild to me. Well,
yeah.
2-3 makes sense for Washington, not for Kansas City.
Right, exactly.
If you will allow me, I'm going to guarantee the Chiefs.
Let me see.
It's 7-point spread. I have a backup.
I
understand if you don't want to, because it is the Chiefs.
I would be curious what your other guarantee is. I will approve this, but just let me know what the other guarantee is.
Okay.
When we get to it.
I will.
But I don't hate it because I guess anything could happen. But It is the Chiefs. That's the only thing
I know. This is a safe guarantee, obviously.
Totally fair.
If you turn around on me and pick Washington, I'm gonna go what the fuck.
No, I'm picking the Chiefs.
Okay,
I'm picking the Chiefs. No, I think that's why I'm like I would be stunned if the Washington football team wins this game. It would it would shock me. But I guess anything could happen, right? Like with this the way that the defense has been playing, it's not been good. So, I'm going Chiefs.
All right. I am also Chiefs, as I said. Minnesota Vikings coming off of their win, take on the Carolina Panthers, who may or may not have Christian McCaffrey back. Is this the week that Stephon Gilmore gets to start, or is it next week?
I think it's next week against the Giants.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
That sounds right. Either way, actually that does sound right because I think he was on the PUP, which is 6 weeks. So, but Carolina, really, really solid defense. Minnesota, playing decently well, playing close in a lot of games. I think this is going to be a really good, like, sneaky game of the week matchup. What do you think the end result is going to be?
Yeah, I'm with you. This is an interesting game. This was a tough one, but kind of going back to my same mentality of like, man, there's too many road wins here. I think that the Panthers get back on the right track. I feel like there's something here. There's too much talent with the way on their defensive side of the ball that they crumble. I could see the Vikings winning in a close game for sure. The Vikings are a pretty decent team, but I think that the Panthers pull it out, even if it's by like a hair.
Yeah. If Christian McCaffrey is back in, this is an easy Panthers pick for me.
Mm-hmm.
And even without him, I still think it's an easy Panthers pick for me.
Yeah. Okay.
Sam Darnold obviously needs to not turn the ball over so much, but other than
that's
that,
my concern.
Other than that, I think the Panthers are still going to be the better team here.
Yeah, that's my biggest concern right now. Is I feel like Sam Darnold, after starting very strongly, kind of is regressing a bit. But I'm still optimistic enough to pick them here. We'll see how they do on Sunday, though.
Yeah.
Next up, the Los Angeles Chargers at the Baltimore Ravens. This is a good looking game here.
Yeah.
All right, 4-1 teams going at it. Could give the Bills some extra distance between at least one of these teams, whoever loses. But ultimately this is going to be to really solidify, at least for now, who it might be the top AFC team here. Tough call, I think this game is. What do you think is going to happen?
I agree. I think that the Chargers have a slight edge, and I say this as a Ravens supporter.
Mm-hmm.
I just overall like what the Chargers do right now more than I like what the Ravens do right now, and I don't know how this Ravens defense is going to be able to stop the passing capabilities of Justin Herbert right now. So I'm going to pick the Chargers.
Yeah, I'm with you. I picked the Chargers because I don't know. I feel like with the Ravens, I'm impressed with Lamar Jackson. Do not get me wrong.
Absolutely.
I think that there's and I think I'm happy that Calais Campbell got his moment with blocking that field goal. But the problem with that game on Monday was that if that field goal went in, that Calais Campbell blocked, that would have iced the game there. Like, they were very, very close to that game just falling out of their hands. And I feel like we've seen that a lot with the Ravens this year. And I would like to see them really beat a good team, like really good team.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know they beat the Chiefs, and like I'm not trying to take away credit on that, but
yeah,
I think if they beat this Chargers team, they'll make me think, okay, I feel comfortable with them. But right now, where I'm at with the Chargers, I think there's a part of me that even wants to say they're better than the Bills in some capacity, but the Bills have just been so dominant on both sides that it's hard for me to say that. But the Chargers are just so good, and
they really are.
I think that Austin Eckler is such a underrated piece of this offense. It has been so good when he's there, and then the defense is just playing out of their minds as well. So I'm going Chargers as well.
Cool. Next up, we have the undefeated Arizona Cardinals taking on the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland. After their awful, not awful, but heartbreaking loss to the Chargers. What do you think is going to happen in this matchup?
This one was one of them. Like, I was like, I could Team Chaos the Browns here, but I kind of, like I said last week, it's hard for me to pick against the Cardinals at this point, because they've earned enough respect from me in terms of this being able to, even though the game was a little bit closer last week, like I feel like they're still clicking where it matters on offense, and their defense is playing very, very well, surprisingly well. I was not expecting that from the Cardinals at all.
Me neither.
and so I think this game could be close. I think I think the Browns do have a shot here, but I'm feeling pretty good about the Cardinals at this point, so I'm gonna go with them.
I'm actually gonna go with the Browns.
Oh shit! I love this. Why?
Because and it's a small reason, but I think it's an important one. Murray was dealing a little bit with like an injury thing at the end of the last game, and I still think he's working through it a bit. Appeared on the injury report today. You saw at the end of last year when Murray like had that shoulder thing, he wasn't lights out like he usually is.
Yep, 100%.
So I think that is going to linger a little bit, and that's why I'm picking the Browns in this matchup. That's
fascinating. I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued enough where I don't think I'm gonna change my pick. I think we'll keep it interesting.
Okay.
I'll stick with the Cardinals, but that is a good point. I forgot that he did get injured on that in that game.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm curious to see the Browns have been impressive. The fact that that he's been throwing to people like Donovan Peoples-Jones and like just random wide receivers. OBJ is not really contributing that much.
No.
And Baker Mayfield still looks good. And of course they rely so much on Nick Chubb and Hunt. That's such a fascinating offense. They might get Jarvis Landry back this week too.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that's really intriguing. I don't know. I guess my biggest concern though is that can the defense play a full game against a relatively good offense, like offense that has been on fire.
We'll see.
It could help that Kyle Murray's injured.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go with the Cardinals just for now.
Cool.
All right. I believe I'm next.
You're
Las
next.
Vegas Raiders at the Denver Broncos. This is the first matchup without John Gruden, and the Broncos and Raiders are both coming off of tough losses, just tough, brutal losses. What do you think is going to happen here?
I don't like this game. I'm gonna pick the Broncos just because I want like a little bit more removed from the Gruden stink.
Sure.
But I don't like this game.
you mentioned earlier about the coaches thing, right? The idea of like how I'm usually of the mindset that like if a team gets rid of its head coach, that team is going to win. I've kind of been of the mindset prior to the whole John Gruden thing happening that the Raiders seem like a better team than the Broncos. I think I was maybe more confident in the Broncos at first, but now after seeing the Broncos, I was kind of like, I don't know. They're injured and they're not performing very well. Whereas the Raiders, Derek Carr has been carrying this fucking team, and he's doing a very good job, and he's playing very, very good football. I'm guaranteeing the Raiders.
Okay, all right.
This is a risky guarantee, I know.
Yeah.
But I even with the unique circumstances that the firing or the resigning, I guess, took place, and you know even with just like this aura of like, oh my god, like what has happened to this team, and after what happened with the Bears last week, like there's so much around it. I feel like this team and this head coach, who all I'm hearing about is that he's this guy that everyone in the locker room absolutely adores. Like, I feel like if that's the energy they're bringing to the table here, I think that they have what it takes to beat the Broncos this week. It's not a confident guarantee, which is, I think if you're doing a guarantee, you should be confident. Yeah. But I don't know. I like to play it a little fast and loose here, so I'm going to guarantee it.
All right. Since you are guaranteeing this one, I will change my guarantee to the other one. It hasn't come yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Next up.
Next up, Dallas Cowboys take on the New England Patriots. Cowboys kind of on fire right now. Patriots almost losing to the Texans. Will it have any better luck against the other Texas team?
No.
No.
I really am. I'm starting to get with you where I didn't really want to like be like so invested in this Cowboys team and like this Cowboys team, but I kind of like this Cowboys team.
I like this Cowboys team.
All things considered, like they're an obnoxious America's team, but they are kind of like they've become kind of like they're a team that has not won. They have not been to a Super Bowl since the ¡90s. And they're kind of like a shell of their former selves. And Jerry Jones sucks ass. And Mike McCarthy's not a good coach. But, like, the players on the field, there's lots to like there.
I love Dak. Yeah. I think he's a good guy, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I think there's a lot to like on this team in terms of the talent. And I'm picking them. And, I'm intrigued by them. I'm curious how far they can go and how well they do.
Yeah, I'm also picking the Cowboys. This is an easy one. I've been riding the Cowboys train all season for some reason.
Yeah, even though we always are like, we don't know if we could trust their defense going into this year.
No, they have a good defense. Trayvon Diggs has an interception in every game, pretty much.
No, I know but I mean, going into the season, that's usually the mindset that we're at, where it's just like, okay, everything seems like it's gonna work, but we don't know if we could trust it. But yeah, Trayvon Diggs coming out of nowhere to become a defensive player of the year candidate.
Yeah,
with how well he's playing.
And Micah Parsons, excellent rookie.
Yeah, they could have both of those rewards could be Cowboys.
The Depoy and the D-Roy.
The Depoy Roy, you know?
Depoy Roy. That sounds like an anime character.
Yeah, it sounds
Depoy Roy.
It sounds like
Depoy O'Roy. No, Depoy D-Roy. I don't know. Depoy
Roy just sounds like it's like a TLC reality show about like a depot guy or whatever. Like it's so absurd. Next up, the Seattle Seahawks at the Pittsburgh Steelers. A battle of 2 and 3 teams. One that might be on the rise, and the other one that is dealing with some shit. What do you think's gonna happen here?
Would you believe me that the Steelers are only 4-point favorites?
I guess I would, but
yeah, I kind of get it.
I get it.
Yeah, I don't trust. Geno is going to play fine for Seattle.
Sure,
but I think that Pittsburgh's defense and their like okay offense, are going to be enough to take over the Seahawks. This was my backup guarantee to guarantee the Steelers.
I like this one more.
Okay.
But I don't want to pressure you. Like, you could do the Chiefs if you want. If you feel better with the Chiefs pick.
I realize that I've already guaranteed the Steelers once. So
guarantee the Chiefs. Guarantee
Okay,
the Chiefs. It's
all
okay. I'll forgive you. I'll forgive
Okay.
you. I'm with you though. I'm picking the Steelers. I'm someone that is still steadfast in believing that the Steelers team is not very good, at least on the offensive side of the ball.
No.
But I think in this circumstance right now, where you're looking at the Seattle defense that has not played well, and you're looking on the offensive side now without Russell Wilson, who is so relied on. I mean, he's the most relied on quarterback in the league for their team. Like, I feel like now having Geno back there is going to change up the game plan a lot for them. And he may play well. I mean, he performed pretty well on Thursday night, but I just think that the Steelers defense is going to be enough of a challenge for them that it's not going to be enough. So I'm with you. I'm going Steelers.
Chris,
What's that?
if you had a buffalo charging at you, could you stop it?
No, probably not.
Can you stop the Buffalo Bills?
Probably not. They
Steelers
would kill
did.
me. That's true.
Somehow.
Yeah.
Can the Titans?
Can the is that your intro to that? Because
Yeah.
don't actually. Okay. I will go with the Bills. I mean, Titans they bounced back, yeah, but this Bills team is just playing out of their minds right now. And there's a lot of the only thing that I think people are concerned about is are they peaking too early in the year? And I guess that could be a thing, but
What if this isn't their peak?
Right. And also and also I don't know, I just think I think you're just gonna bring your all every single week and just try your best every single week. And I don't know if there's necessarily these. There's definitely peaks and valleys in an NFL season, but I don't know. I don't think that's something I'm necessarily worried about right this minute with the Bills, and
Yeah.
I think they take care of business here.
I agree. Bills good.
All right. So with that, we have 3 disagreements.
I think so. I think it's Browns, Cardinals, and then our Chaoses.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Back to 3.
Yeah.
We haven't had a large swath of games that we disagreed on yet, which is good. I kind of like the closer margins. It's bad for me, I guess, because I'm behind, but I don't know. I don't mind the closer competition. I like agreeing with you on these things. It's good when we have a similar mindset into how we're thinking. And I do really like your picks this week, even though I'm I will stand by my Dolphins pick. I'll stand by the
Bears chaos,
Cardinals,
and the Cardinals.
And yes, the
Bears chaos.
Even the Bears chaos. Even though that is purely out of my just strange hatred for picking so many road teams,
which I don't understand, but it's okay. I understand. I do understand.
It's just I'm a firm believer that home field advantage matters.
I did a project on college on home field advantage. It totally matters.
So it's kind of like, oh man, am I just casting that completely aside for this? But yeah. It's gonna be a very interesting week, but I am looking forward to it. I'm just making sure I write down your correct chaos here. Yeah, very long episode, a lot to talk about, a lot of fucking drama, chaos. NFL is just a wild time. But we will be back next week with another episode where we'll break down week 6. We'll pick our games for week 7. And I have to think of a segment, because this week we got away with not having to do a segment because John Gruden happened, so I have to think of a good segment for next week. But I'll tell you when we get there. Any final words on your CBS sitcoms?
You should watch Ghosts. Give it a shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go.
It's at least you know what the reason why I think Ghost works so well is because it's not safe. It's not a safe show.
That's fair. Like, but you're not when you're saying that, you don't mean like they're anti-cancel culture. Like, you're not that.
No, it's like it does have a lot of obviously themes of death and seeing dead people. So I think that alone kind of sets it ahead and gives it a reason to stand out and gives you a reason to watch it beyond just here's a family. Here's their drama.
Right. Yeah. Definitely interesting. I'm glad. It's just what blows my mind the most though is that CBS is actually putting out good scripted content.
At least enough for me to watch a second episode.
Yes, there you
Granted,
go.
it was kind of like a 2-part premiere, so you kind of had to watch the second episode. But
Sure.
the first half was good enough for me to not want to stop. So
right, exactly. There you go. That goes a long way right there.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you all so much for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
Good night and good ball. Virtual Ball Boys has been brought to you by Team Chaos Productions. Find us on Twitter at Virtual Ball Boys and find more of our work at Team Chaos Pods.